10 after 4. Okay, I've got everybody in low range. Rear axle's locked as needed. And we're going to try the new 360 camera out front. And we'll be ready to roll in a minute. Okay, well, silly me didn't turn the cameras on. Anyway, so you missed part of it. That's kind of fun road. We'll just give you a little sightseeing of it. We're back to high range, second gear. Just rolling along. We got a 360 camera out on the front. You can see it, so be entertaining to see what that looks like at the end of the day. I still have to figure out how to do it. Good God. Okay, so I forgot to turn on the other camera, as I was just saying, to that camera. And we're on a neat pole line road right now. We're out of low range. We're in high range, second gear. A lot of grip on this road. It's got enough moisture in it that it's fabulous. Boy. Oh, rally car guys just lose your mind coming up and down here. A lot of grip. Also, it depends what tires you're running. You know, some of the tires that are great for doing X, Y in the rocks or B and Z in the desert aren't good for these roads, and others are. It just, you know, everybody has a favorite, but it's not always the best tire for the situation. We're running on this, got LT 235/85 R16 directional mud tires, which means they're self-cleaning. As they go through, it's like a tractor tire. Mud comes in one side and it shoves it out the other. You've got a desert tire and you get in the mud, they'll ball up into chocolate donuts, and the only place you're going is which way gravity says, right? Which might be not where you want to end up. Question of the week off the internet was, when you're in the mud, have you ever used snow chains? You bet. Snow chains, good stuff. Even if you've got the crappiest tire on the planet and it's balled up like a chocolate donut, as soon as you put those chains on, you've got grip. And just don't spin the tires, because you know, last thing you need to do is destroy a chain because you're sitting too busy spinning the tire. Just pick up the throttle slow and smooth and keep it going. No use, you know, running around with your foot, you know, on a revel. Okay, we're going to cross the wash. And now we're going up. Where's cars? I'm looking. Got two here. And there's my third and fourth. Okay. All right, I got white Jeep and Toyota in sight. This is fabulous road. First time I came on it in 1981 in the Reno International Pro Rally, and we're going the opposite direction. It had a layer of snow on it all the way from Nixon to Cowles Ranch, across the top of the pass up there, which was, by the time we got there at 8 o'clock at night, was iced over so bad that I don't know, about 16 cars in the rally couldn't get over the pass, even though they had allowed chains for that section. A lot of these guys weren't bright enough to bring chains with them. We showed up with the Land Rover, saw that they were trapped. They tried to chain two cars together, a Blazer and a Jeep Honcho. Couldn't do it. The problem was ice. Ice don't care who you are, what your car is, or what tires you have. I put the snow chains on. We ordered them off the pass. They slid the things down the hill. There was our Toyota Works Corolla up there stuck. I went up in the Land Rover, second gear, low range, busting the ice. I stopped. We hooked up his tow strap, towed him to the top, got on the radio, and because we had torn all the ice up out of the wheel tracks, everybody came roaring up the hill just like that. Piece of cake. Now, some people think that, well, that's not, I can't do that. I can't have chains, right? Yeah, you can. Getting home without wrecking the car is the coolest thing. Not, being Mr. Macho that I get the biggest tires on or something, We are climbing again. Cameras do not do this justice. We're cruising along. We're headed pretty much due south right this minute. Fabulous roads out here. What's even better is there's nobody on them. I've come through here when this was blocked off for an event in a Land Rover Discovery that was modified on the suspension, Bellsteins on it, the correct springs and skid trays. It was a 5-speed. The engine had been leaned on. We were coming through here at a pretty damn good clip. You wouldn't have caught an Audi Quattro with it because we weren't pushing 500 horse, And on an Audi, you can variable rate the system. So they would run 70-30, which means you can steer it out on the back end. Land Rovers are 100% 50-50, which means you can't do a donut in a Land Rover. It won't do it. You just go in a circle. But if you know how to drive it, you can bust it loose and slide it in, what we call backing it in, by just overcooking it a bit and downshift it a bit early as you churn in to get the ass end out and start rotating the rig, and then let it hook up before you power it back up. Where the rally cars will come in on opposite lock, as my father would say, we're going to turn left to go right, and then use the horsepower on the rear wheels to do it. You also got to remember those are rally cars, they're designed to do that. The average four-wheel drive off the showroom, you can't do these things. We had a Northern California Automotive Journalist Association, I think is what the title was. Years ago, we did an event for them at Sears Point numerous times. One year it rained oh my God, it rained. GMC guy immediately came and withdrew all his cars. Not going to get him money. Hummer guy took the car away. We had a Ford Ranger, a Jeep Grand Cherokee with a 360 Dodge in it, with an automatic, a 4.6 Range Rover, P38, so it'd have been a 96, I think, 97, 96, because it still had a Lucas fuel injection. And you had the same thing with the Range Rover. You can't power slide it. It just hooks up and goes around the corner. The Jeep with the quadrant jack was 70-30. 70 on the rear axle, 30 on the front. It's the only four-wheel drive I've ever done where you can back up at high speed with 3 journalists inside, stand on the brakes, spin the steering wheel, floor the throttle, and do donuts backwards at speed. And they're like, how the hell do you do that in a Jeep? Was their question. And my reply was, I'm trickier than you are. And they would just giggle. You couldn't do it in this either. This thing just hooks up. This is what it was meant to do, to go through things, not to be a rally car. But out of all the four-wheel drives that ever ran, one of the toughest rallies in the world, I mean, the Rovers won Dakar numerous times before the rules got too stupid. Not like they are now, where they've got all these weird cars that they just build. As far as I'm concerned, they should get rid of them and go back to production-based stuff. But anyway, what do I know? But the Jeep was a Grand Cherokee with a Dodge in it, with Quadra-Track. But by the end of the afternoon, we were shuffling cars down to the paddock in Sears Point. I think they call it Sonoma nowadays. Anyway, one of my guys drives up in it, and I said, "What the hell's all that noise?" He goes, "I think the front end's toast." And I said, "Try backing up," and it wouldn't back up anymore. It was done. So whatever we did to it, we munched the front diff in that thing, and we never did find out what it did to it. But there was no driving that, and that was only after a few hours of us being silly. The other thing we had was a Ford Ranger four-wheel drive, four-banger in it. Pickups are lousy to go four-wheeling, and it's easy reason why. There's no weight on the rear wheels, right? No weight on the rear wheels means there's no grip. No grip, you're not going anywhere. And anyway, we dropped the rear tires. We had these kind of simple little knobby snow tires on it. And we dropped the backs down about 10 pounds, kept the front up at about 15, 18 or something. As long as we kept momentum, it'd go pretty much anywhere. And then we had a Mercedes out there. The guy was, trying to get all hyped up on the traction control, and he didn't want to listen. And he was, the RPM rate, wheel speed, was so high before the traction control took over. It was kind of screwy, so you really had to be abusive on the throttle before it finally went, "Oh, you want to do that?" And then it would play its game. Well, traction control only works one way, by the brakes. It's part of the ABS system. So when the wheel starts spinning, the brake applies that wheel to slow the wheel down until it regains traction. And it can get down to such a degree that you only have one wheel powering the car. What a waste of time. So he kept saying it could do this, it could do that, but in the end, because the conditions were so bad, the slick wet grass and the mud, and we were up on the old motocross track, and that ground is usually hard as concrete, and it turned into, it was glass hard, as my father would say. Anyway, every vehicle does something different for everybody. They're not all the same, even though people think so. Hey, we got some mud up here. Heads up, guys, you got a left-hand turn with a little bit of mud. Get my flock heads up. We're going to turn off of this in a minute, so I'm going to quit chit-chat, and you can go get a drink or hit the can or whatever it is you're going to do. I think the wife's calling you for dinner, right? And we'll be back with you in a little bit. Bye-bye.